We spend years in school learning about the Holocaust, but they never tell us what the American and British governments did to the Germans after the war was over. They held millions of captured German soldiers in open-air concentration camps with no shelter and no latrines, just barbed wire surrounding muddy fields. They had to burrow sleeping spaces into the ground with their bare hands. And in some camps, there were so many people they barely had enough room to lay down. Eisenhower reclassified them as disarmed enemy forces versus prisoners of war, which they were. This was a paperwork trick that stripped their Geneva Convention protections overnight. As prisoners of war, they should have been released immediately, but as disarmed enemy forces, they could be used as slave labor with no rights to any food, water, or shelter. And so many of them died within days. They clawed at the ground for grass to eat, drank from puddles mixed with their own waste, so obviously diseases spread like wildfire, and bodies piled up faster than burial details could even move them. Decades later, US soldiers described mass graves being dug while they were still alive. They were too weak to crawl and were just shoved into pits. Bulldozers pushed dirt over their helpless bodies as they screamed and reached through the soil. If Germans were captured out in town, the US Army's unofficial policy was to kill them on sight. One of the biggest massacres at the hands of the Americans was shooting 700 troops through the back of the head and machine gunned down 300 surrendered guards at Dachau. A US Army soldier is quoted saying, "Some of our boys were lining up German prisoners in the fields. There must have been 25 or 30 German boys in each group. Machine guns were being set up. These boys were to be machine gunned down and murdered. We were committing the same crimes we were accusing them of doing." As a veteran myself, and as somebody who has spent years researching these topics, I can tell you definitively, this isn't just a lapse of judgment. It is a pattern. The US has spent decades condemning others for the very crimes it commits in secret and even out in the open. What the American government did to the captured German soldiers, to the Vietnamese, to the Iraqis, to the Palestinians, raises a very important question that nobody ever wants to face. And that's, what's the purpose of fighting a war against terror if we become the very terrorists we claim to be fighting?
Are you coming to the tree where the strung up men, they say, who murdered 3?